Welcome to Spineless Antics. In this episode, we will be looking at making a custom drive shaft. We'll also be looking at fuel system. Now, we've obviously gone from a carburetted engine to a fuel-injected engine. So we need to sort out fuel pumps. We can do a lift pump in the tank and a main pump underneath the car. The fuel lines, the fuel sender, return lines to the tank, and generally figure that all out and get it all up and running. Okay, let's talk drive shafts. So I've got three different drive shafts here. Number one is the original 240 out of the Volvo. Now, these have a really rubbish centre carrier, which a lot of people upgrade to the 940 version, which is not the end of the world. You can just change all the bits and bobs. But this being an early Volvo, it has the smaller, skinnier drive shaft, which is approximately 45 mil Propshaft and quite small UJs. Now, this being as a 1980 drive shaft, a bit later on they changed to a slightly chunkier one. So I got a 940 drive shaft, turned up today, quite a bit chunkier. The UJs are bigger, shaft diameter's a little bit bigger, not tons, but it definitely looks like a meatier piece of kit. 51, 52 tube diameter, quite a bit chunkier. But the good thing is the ends are exactly the same. Only problem is it is a little bit longer. So actually I'm actually marked on the bench. You can see it's that much size difference. And then the third drive shaft, this is an IS200 drive shaft. And the reason this one I've got here is this is the correct end that goes into my gearbox. So I'm going to be using these three drive shafts to make one. I'm going to be using, well, I'm not going to be using this one at all. I'm sacking off the 241 completely. So I'm going to be using the 940. I'm going to shorten the rear section by cutting off one of the yokes and then sliding it down. And then I'm going to get a 940 centre bearing adapter so it bolts into the car, which you can buy off the shelf, but it's pretty sweet. That's all pretty simple stuff. Now, this is where it gets more complicated. I need to somehow put that on the end of here. I've got a few options. I think you can either grind this off and sleeve this whole tube onto there. I can take it the end off there and slide on there. Now there's a 2 or 3 millimeter difference. There's a small chance this tube may actually sleeve over a really snug fit and be weld on. So I'm going to start cutting them apart and just go from there. Right, I've ground the weld off. Now I'm just tapping the end out. Bada boom! There it is. And there it is. Right, now this tube just needs cutting down and this pushing back in and welding on. Drive shafts or prop shafts. I know technically it's a prop shaft, still call it a drive shaft. I've pretty much got all the bits together. Let's have a look. These are the parts to make my prop shaft. Now, nothing is finalised. They are just tacked. Tacky. So, as you've already seen, this has been shortened and this pushed back in. Now, they're actually tapered, not tapered. There's like a collar that pushes into the tube and it's a tight fit. Now, as you know, or I've already said, this Volvo 940, this IS200, different diameters. We fixed that. Machine shop. took it in and actually turned down the edge so that it's a super nice snug fit, and actually a push fit. And then they also ran, because they're very nice, a true edge on both edges, put them in the rotisserie and turn them down so they're perfectly flat. So when that gets tacked together, that should be perfect. That sleeve's in there. Now we've upgraded to a 940 centre bearing, which is a much nicer piece of kit, which goes on there. New centre bearing. And then I needed a carrier to convert to bolt the 940 centre bearing into the 240. Now this beautifully made bit of kit, another beautifully made piece of kit by a company called Viking. His link is below in the description. He makes Volvo 240 conversion parts and other bits. It's not his day job, it's his part-time job. He does a beautiful job. He's also making me a brace for under the engine when he gets a chance, but he's a busy boy. So pop him a message. He's got a Facebook page and all that chat. But yeah, very happy with that. It's lovely. So with that, this, that. So here it is all put together. I say this is just a mock-up. Let's pop it in the car, see if it fits. Here it is, mounted up. It's about perfect. We've got about half of the throw into there, so there's still actually, you know, some slip on the front. Into our centre mount, and then back we go to there. I think we've got it. That is IS 200 to 940 to 240 drive shaft. Sweet. Right, that just needs finalising up, and maybe I might even treat it to being balanced. Go back to the shop, all balanced up and ready to go. So this is everything we need. Well, that's that in. And a boom, boom, boom. Missing one bolt in the back for now. Be enough to test it. look at this fuel tank. So I've given the old fuel tank a lick of paint. I may give it a new one at some point, but there's nothing actually wrong with it. It's just a bit grotty. So I give it a lick of paint. This is the old sender unit. Now this is not going to work for a number of reasons. Number one, the cable for the filler is knackered. Fuel level. Number two, it doesn't have a fuel return. This is the breather. This is the fuel out. So the solution, you can buy the same version that has 3 outlets. Now this version is slightly different because it also is designed for a pump. The K-Jet versions of these had an inline pump. And here is the pump. So it'll actually have a lift pump in the tank. So the lift pump in the tank, we're going to have a flow and a return. The system I'm going to be using is the same as I did on the truck. I'm going to be using the Bosch 044, which is a well-known good pump. Lots of fakes out there. There's whole websites dedicated to making sure you buy the right one. Then I'm using a special fuel filter that has a return on it. And this is a regulator and a filter. This is the sender unit all built up with my new pump on. I don't have the special dingle dangle that goes on the bottom, so I've had to use a big tubular. But hey ho, sure it'll be fine. And in she goes. Bingo. That's that in. Just got put the ring in. Now that just needs a tap tappy tap. Ready to reinstall. Just had to take it back out again. I forgot the sock. Back in again. Okay, the tank is all prepped. My new cables, 2 new lines, and the breather's already in the car, so. Just ran nice and long at the moment. We know where we're going to go. I've just sorted out the fuel pump situation. I've got my main pressurised one in. That's the one that's going to be returning to the tank. And then this one is going to be the one coming from the tank. I don't have this connector yet. I got one that came with the kit, but it's too big. I need what size was it? 12 mil. No, I forget what size I need now. Is it 12 mil? Yeah, it was 12 mil. Yeah, I need a 12 mil one of these. So that's coming in the post. But I can get this all mounted up under the car, figure out where it's going. So I've got my wires, which run back to my Phoenix loom. And then also I've got the new wires for this. Now luckily, this Volvo was sold with fuel injection at the same time. And this model has the plug already here and ready to go. So I'm like good to go for the internal tank fuel pump. Just got to find the other end. And then also, whilst clearing it out, it's not really good for me because I'm going to be running it from the ECU. But I also found a connector for the high pressure fuel pump. So you could easily retrofit using the original if you weren't running the factory ECU to manage it. So I've got the car up in the air. I need to figure out where these fuel pumps are going to go. Originally it's down there somewhere, but I quite like the idea of having it up, out of the way. Up in here somewhere. Right up under the floor. So we'll see. Now, fuel filler's here, so the tank sits... The tank goes up a bit, doesn't it? The tank's up in that recess. Yeah, it does a bit. I don't know how much room is between tank and there. Where else could I go? Down there somewhere. I could try and stick it in stock location. Where's the bolt hole things for it? Just like the idea of it being more tucked out of the zive. Okay, that's not going to work then. Cock. Plan B. Let's have a look at the other side, shall we? So I think the original one used to mount here somewhere. If you had an injection model, which I don't, but if I did, that's where it would. Okay, I think I got this fuel pump where I want it to be. I'm going back in the stock location, and there's a couple of reasons for it. Number one being, it's naturally quite a good space. Now this is my rigid fuel line that runs to the tank and back. Now I'm going to be able to cut that and tee into it to run fuel to the front of the car. I'm also going to cut it there and then use the tail end of it as my return. So it actually comes in pretty handy. Need one about there. So that's going to sit. So I can just cut these fuel lines now without trying to burn the house down. Cool, right, let's crack on. Okay, well, this is the fuel system buttoned up. There it is. Main line in, bosch, into the pump, out of the pump, loops round into the fuel pressure regulator filter, overflow goes back, rest of it goes up front and back through the original rigid line, where it zips up to the front of the vehicle and comes out there. So I'm just going to change this line for a decent bit of modern line, pop that on there, and we're done. We can pressurise the system and check it. Okay, quick fuel system test. Good old Volvo. So I linked into the original connector in the boot, and there is the plug for the fuel relay for the pumps. Now this car never had fuel pumps, but the relay's there. Now I've got a little live here. All I have to do is live that bit there, and that's the wire that goes to all the other two fuel pumps in the boot. I can hear that now, lift pump working. Perfect. So when I buy the relay, that lift pump should all work on the key factory, which is sweet. The second fuel pump, the high pressure, I could just tap into the original system, but I'm going to keep it on the Lexus ECU. So this is the wire coming off that, and if we run that all the way to the battery, give the battery, I've just got the fuel going into a tank for now. Boom. We got fuel. We have fuel. One thing sorted. Sweet. Okay, well, bit of a slow night on the Volvo, but we did get the fuel system pretty much buttoned up. The fuel pump, inline fuel pump's in the fuel tank. The fuel tank is back in the car. The high pressure fuel pump is mounted under the car with the fuel filter. All the lines are routed where I need them to be. Great that I found the wiring in the back of the car for the in tank, the original style in tank pressure lift pump. So yeah, pretty happy with all of that. Hope you liked it. Don't forget, subscribe would be awesome. You can catch up, see what we're doing next, and follow this little Volvo build. Also, have a little scoot through what else we've done. We got videos on this bad boy coming up soon, when it's finished. And we're going to start a whole new series coming up soon, this summer. I'm just starting to plan it at the moment, so watch this space. Take it easy.